dedicated to Eastern and Southern Kentucky. This is WYMT Mountain News Weekend Edition.
Good evening, I'm Madison Carmouche. We have a new perspective from a story we brought you first last night. A standoff in Perry County which left community members talking about how the situation began. WYMT's RJ Johnson shares one neighbor's reaction to the hours-long barricade situation.
Harry Cullum, who did not want to be on camera, says he hasn't heard of a lot happening in the Airport Gardens community of Perry County.
It's pretty laid back, it's quiet, you never have any problems.
That was until Saturday evening when a man approached his wife while she was at home.
She said that a man come to the house and knocked on the door and wanted to stay here and hide because somebody was chasing him with guns. And she said, I don't think I can do that with my husband gone.
Police were called about a domestic abuse at the building. Cullum says the suspect reportedly threatened a woman and her children.
Next thing she knows, when he ran out, the police come and asked her if she was by herself and was she okay and everything else. And she said yes, and they said, you've got to get out of here.
For the next several hours, the man would engage in a standoff with police.
And I couldn't get home because they had the roads blocked off. But when I finally talked to my wife, she explained what happened, and the lady that was being threatened, she was down there with her children.
Cullum says he feels for the victim and her family.
But she's a good mother, and her children are dressed nice, and I've never had a bad thing to say about that young lady.
And after several hours, the suspect turned himself in and was taken into custody.
It was ended peacefully. It could have gone the other way.
In Perry County, RJ Johnson, WYMT Mountain News.
The Perry County Sheriff's Office says the suspect was lodged in the Kentucky River Regional Jail on several warrants, wanton endangerment and possession of a firearm by a convicted felon.
It's been a wet day across eastern Kentucky. We've seen a lot of rain, even some severe thunderstorms, and we do have some flood advisories right now. We want to take a look over here at our rainfall totals for today. Now, all of these are reported in, but these are from the METARs out there. We do have 0.94 inches in London, over 1.75 inches in Jackson, and almost 3 inches out there in Prestonsburg. And that's what's led us to these flood alerts we have right now. So let's go by flood alert and give you that information. So we have this in Clay and Owsley County until 8 p.m. We have another flood alert just over to the north in Estill, Jackson, Lee, and Owsley counties until 7:45. Over Outlis to the east, that one actually has expired. And then we have Floyd, Johnson, Martin, and Pike until 8 p.m. And that's because we've had all this rain falling today. As you can see, that's started to move off to the east and out of our areas. But if you're out just south of Pikeville near Dorton, Whitesburg, Hellier, Jenkins, all you guys are still going to see some heavier rain as we get into the night, and that's why we want you guys to download the WYMT First Alert Weather app. This QR code right here will help you download or update that for your latest weather information. Madison?
All right, Drake, thank you. 8 Kentucky healthcare professionals are charged in a nationwide fraud case. According to the Department of Justice, 6 people were charged in the Western District of Kentucky. 2 were charged in the Eastern District. The indictment alleged cases of healthcare fraud, identity theft, and illegally distributing controlled substances. Prosecutors alleged that in one of the cases, 2 pharmacists fraudulently obtained more than $1 million from healthcare benefit programs. Almost 200 people were charged across the country in connection to the investigation. A Laurel County man was indicted on attempted murder charges in federal court. According to the Herald Leader, 71-year-old Byron Kemp Howard was charged after an incident in May. They say that state police were trying to arrest Howard when he fled and reportedly shot at officers. Howard was also charged with illegally possessing a firearm. In April, Governor Andy Beshear announced medical cannabis businesses could start applying to be licensed on July 1st. Some cities and counties have chosen to ban these businesses. Earlier this week, the Lexington-Fayette Urban County Council voted to regulate them. Jessica Umbro breaks down what the ordinance means and reaction from one Kentucky cannabis organization.
Kentucky's finally come around, and we did all the fighting and stuff, and now it's finally here.
Matthew Bratcher of Kentucky Normal says the July 1st licensing kickoff has been a long time coming, and it could just be the start.
I think we'll see, an upswing in, the patient demand, and that will just cue the cabinet to release more, another round of applications.
In a unanimous vote, the Lexington-Fayette Urban County Council approved regulations of the industry, including where different parts of production and distribution can be located in Fayette County.
As an example, cultivators, they require a certain level of security that's maybe more akin to a factory than an agricultural production facility.
It's important to note that these regulations specifically apply to medical cannabis, meaning access will be determined on a person-by-person basis.
There's a restricted type of illness and list of illnesses that they can qualify for. And so we'll just have to see what the number of cards given out is.
Bratcher says advocates will be focusing on access in rural Kentucky.
We're spread out all over the place. We've got a very high rate of disability. So that just means that we've got a lot of people that are real excited about this program going.
And as the industry prepares to roll out statewide, many are keeping an eye on what the demand will be to the growing supply.
I know it's something that's grown in other states, and so we're anticipating it being part of our local economy in a meaningful way.
In Lexington, Jessica Umbro, WKYT.
And in Jefferson County Public School is set to allow students who qualify for medical cannabis to take it at school. According to the new policy, medical cannabis will be administered by school nurses and nurse practitioners in pill or gummy form. Vaping the product will not be allowed on campus, and it will be given out of sight of other students. That new policy goes into effect once medical marijuana becomes available in January of 2025. The organization Rule Up is bringing career-connecting education to the youth of Eastern Kentucky by partnering with Learning Undefeated. The collaboration will allow Rule Up to bring its high-tech STEM trailer to 5 counties here in the mountains, giving students the opportunity to participate in a week-long STEM and cyber arcade camp. Students from 5th to 8th grades will learn skills to apply to the real world.
And we're wanting to provide these unique experiences so that students can be engaged in what is going on in literally the high-tech area of computer science and STEM, and bringing the best type of curriculum.
The camps will be in Laurel, Jackson, Harlan, Knox, and Clay counties, with the next camp beginning tomorrow morning at the Jackson County Public Library, and there are still a few sign-up spots available. Things are moving forward for elementary students in the southern portion of Perry County. More than a year ago, the Perry County School Board made the decision to consolidate Leatherwood into Viper Elementary. Perry County Schools Chief Financial Officer Jody Maggard says the goal is to further consolidate Viper and R.W. Combs into South Perry Elementary.
All of those students on the south end of the county would be in a new school, similar to West Perry, East Perry, and of course Robinson and Buckhorn. All those students are in a fairly new school within less than 10 to 12 years old. And so we wanted to do the same with South Perry.
Maggard adds the project is years in the making, but they will use the site of R.W. Combs for the future South Perry Elementary School, which is still in the beginning planning stages. LGBTQ plus issues in Kentucky schools have been the subject of many discussions in recent years. Legislation has passed creating changes to school policy, changes critics call harmful. CDC research shows non-inclusive practices in schools harm not only LGBTQ students, but also other students. Tonight, Samantha Valentino sits down with a child psychologist to learn how policies can affect students' mental health.
In recent years, the Kentucky legislature has passed controversial bills that some call anti-LGBTQ. Senate Bill 150, passed last year, prohibits instruction on human sexuality for grades 5 and below and includes restrictions on transgender students' access to bathrooms or locker rooms reserved for a different biological sex.
So when individuals are in a group where they feel excluded because of their belief that it's different from the majority, then it's really hard for them to feel safe in their learning environment.
The CDC says non-inclusive practices and policies in schools negatively impact not only LGBTQ students, but non-LGBTQ students as well.
If they have a friend or a classmate who's been excluded in some way or not treated correctly, it's really hard for the students that are watching it. Even if they don't speak up, it can be incredibly uncomfortable when they see their friends or classmates being excluded.
CDC research shows that students of all gender identities and sexualities experience less emotional distress, less violence and harassment, and fewer suicidal thoughts and behaviors in schools with inclusive policies. As Kentucky students face what some describe as non-inclusive school policies, Dr. Catherine Stone says there are some steps parents can take to ensure their child feels supported at home.
Have ongoing conversations with their kids, validate that their emotions are real, help them find positive role models within their family or their community of individuals that are in the LGBTQ plus community. Take them to things like the Pride festivals, and even purchasing things that you wear that support the LGBTQ plus community.
In Lexington, Samantha Valentino, WKYT.
Dr. Stone says movies, TV shows, and books with LGBTQ characters can also help your child to feel supported. Coming up, we'll get you the tips you need to battle inflation while still planning a well-deserved summer vacation.
We have had multiple flood advisories and a couple severe thunderstorm warnings throughout eastern Kentucky today. I'll have more details in your first alert forecast in just a few minutes.